Certain stories have a strange power over us. The first tale is about a haunted mansion that stands alone in the middle of nowhere. Its grandeur and beauty are overshadowed by the terror that resides within its walls. People who have dared to enter have never returned, leaving behind only whispers of a dark presence that lurks in the shadows. The mansion's history is shrouded in mystery, with many wondering what drove its former occupants away. Another tale is about a group of friends who decided to explore an abandoned asylum on the outskirts of town. The hospital had been closed for decades, and the locals avoided it at all costs. But the group, fueled by curiosity and a sense of adventure, ventured into the decaying halls, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. Their screams echoed through the empty corridors, but they were not just cries of fear, they were a warning to anyone who would listen. The darkness that surrounds these places is palpable, and those who venture in are often met with an unseen force that seems to push them back. The air is thick with an eerie presence, making it hard to breathe. The silence is deafening. One moment that still sends shivers down my spine is from the story of the abandoned asylum. It was said that on certain nights, when the moon was full, you could hear the screams of former patients echoing through the halls. But there was one patient in particular whose screams were louder and more haunting than the rest. Her name was Emily, and her cries for help were said to be so heartbreaking that they could melt the coldest of hearts. The screams grew louder and louder, until it seemed like Emily was right next to you, her voice piercing through your eardrums. And then, suddenly, everything went silent. The screams stopped, and an unsettling calmness fell over the asylum. It was as if Emily had finally found peace, but at what cost? The silence that followed was more terrifying than the screams themselves.
I rented the place for one reason: it was cheap. Too cheap. It was an old farmhouse outside town, and I only needed it for a month while I sorted things out. No one mentioned that the last tenant never came back for his things. The first few nights were uneventful, except for the strange sound. Not loud, just a faint whisper behind one of the bedroom walls. I thought it was bad pipes or maybe an animal, but every night at exactly 3:12 a.m., the whisper would start again, clearer, closer. I tried recording it, used a mic I had from an old podcast project. That's when I noticed something. On the third night, I played back the recording and heard a woman's voice say, "Get out, he's still here." I live alone. I didn't sleep the next night. Instead, I stayed up, waiting. When the clock hit 3:12 a.m., I followed the sound. It led me to the corner of the room where a loose panel in the wall revealed a hidden crawl space. Inside, I found something wrapped in cloth. A diary. Old. The last entry read, "He speaks through the walls now. If you hear him, do not reply." I burned the diary. But the whispers didn't stop. They got louder. And last night, I made a mistake. I whispered back, "What do you want?" The response came instantly, not in the recorder, in my own voice. From inside the walls, to be free. After that night, I couldn't stay. I checked into a motel and started researching similar stories. I found this one audiobook on Audible that eerily matches what happened. It freaked me out, but also helped me feel like I wasn't alone. If you're into real haunted experiences, I linked it below. You can get it free with a trial. I've moved twice since then. But last night, at exactly 3:12 a.m., I heard it again, from inside my closet, and I live on the 7th floor. The root of all evil. In the heart of Lagos, where the city never sleeps and secrets hide in plain sight, there lived a man named Chuka. He was an ambitious young hustler-smart, restless, and dangerously hungry for success. For years, Chuka struggled to rise above poverty. He tried everything: selling electronics, running errands, even working as a club promoter, but nothing brought the kind of wealth he dreamed of. His friend, Emeka, however, seemed to have cracked the code. Flashy cars, expensive clothes, women, Emeka had it all, and it didn't take long before Chuka started asking questions. One night, over drinks in a dimly lit lounge, Chuka pressed him. "Bro, be honest, what's the real source of your money?" Emeka leaned in, lowered his voice and whispered, "It's not for the faint-hearted, but if you're serious, like really serious, I'll introduce you to the man." A week later, Chuka found himself deep in the outskirts of town, entering a dark shrine hidden in the forest. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of blood. He was told to kneel before an ancient priest whose eyes glowed unnaturally under the firelight. The priest offered him a deal, wealth beyond imagination, but it came with a price of life for a life. Every year, on the same day, Chuka would have to pay the blood with someone close to him. At first, he hesitated, but then he thought of his mother's leaking roof, his siblings begging for school fees, and his own shame. With trembling lips, he said the words that sealed his fate. Within months, Chuka was unrecognizable. He bought a mansion in Lekki, drove a Benz, and traveled abroad like it was routine. But then came the first Pimenta cousin he loved dearly died in a car crash on the exact day the priest warned him. Chuka knew it wasn't a coincidence. The next year, it was his best friend. The third, his own younger brother. Guilt began to eat at him. He tried to back out, begged the priest to release him, offered millions, but the priest just laughed. Blood money doesn't ask for refund, it only collects interest. Haunted by nightmares and surrounded by corpses of loved ones, Chuka went mad with paranoia. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating, and finally, in a desperate move, tried to expose everything to the press, but no one believed him. On the eve of the 5th year, Chuka sat in his empty mansion, waiting. He knew the debt was due. And this time, it wasn't a relative, it was himself. Moral of the story: every shortcut has a shadow. Wealth that comes soaked in blood will always demand a greater price in the end.
In 1977, 20-year-old Colleen Stan was hitchhiking to a friend's birthday party in California. She was cautious. She even turned down a few rides until a seemingly harmless couple with a baby in the backseat stopped to pick her up. Their names? Cameron and Janice Hooker. Colleen would never make it to her friend's house. Instead, she would vanish from the world for the next 7 years. After gaining her trust, the couple drove her to their home, where Cameron attacked her. He blindfolded her, chained her up, and placed her in a specially made wooden box under their bed where she would spend up to 23 hours a day. The box was coffin-sized, no light, no air holes, no sound, total darkness. Over time, Colleen was brainwashed. Cameron convinced her that he was part of a massive underground organization called The Company that would kill her and her family if she ever tried to escape. She signed a fake slave contract and even called him Master. He let her out occasionally to cook, clean, or be abused, but always returned her to the box. Years go by. Her family believed she was dead. No one came looking. She was allowed to write 1 letter a year, but it was censored and forced. In a terrifying twist, Colleen was once allowed to visit her family for 24 hours, but didn't tell them anything, out of fear. After 7 years, Janice, the wife, finally broke down and told Colleen the truth. There was no organization. It was all fake. With Janice's help, Colleen escaped and finally contacted her family, who were shocked to learn she had been alive all that time. Cameron Hooker was arrested and is still in prison today. Moral of the story: sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that actually happen. Colleen survived something most of us can't even imagine. Her strength is haunting and unforgettable.